Hey folks, we are here just getting Tom rebooted. So just give us 1 second. We'll be good to go here in just a moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As he can be. Bump-a-dump-a-doo.
Oh, did I tell you? Are we live
Yeah,
now?
we're live. So,
Okay.
I was about to say, we're like, whoa, whoa. All your
Uh,
secrets getting out there through the interwebs. You might wanna hold on. Might wanna hold on. Let's go. Make an adjustment. There we go. Center myself a little bit. Get the mic in my face. Well, howdy everyone. It's Commander Shipp show, and not on Wednesday like we were supposed to. What happened this time? Oh, the show.
Stupid karaoke.
Hey, it wasn't just karaoke. I was also getting my DJ set up. So, for those that got to enjoy a wonderful night of blues and jazz, soul, and some people slid in some funk and R&B there, which I'm not opposed to. If some people were like, I wanted blues the entire time. It's like, well, it's 80% blues. Some people had some fun there toward the last set. Like, it's the midnight. It's like you had like, it was almost 12 hours of blues. I think it'd be okay with 1 hour being a little different.
Yeah, it's. I don't understand the aversion.
Yeah, it's like if ever we did a party night during one of the dance weekends or dance exchanges, and people would be upset. I'm like, so let me get this straight. You've had 3 live bands. You've had 3 nights of late night blues played the entire time. Which, again, that's part more than what we just did for this. So that's like, let's say roughly 18-ish hours, give or take. In 1 hour, we put some hip hop on, and you lose your shit. Now, get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. If you can't appreciate it, get out. All right. If we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, we can see your comments across all 3 platforms. So if you have thoughts for us today, we definitely want to hear it. This will be a little bit different than what I did last Sunday. So last Sunday, that was me just more, not ranting. This will be more, not straight up review. We're just going to talk about the 2 movies because we already got So Tom hasn't gotten the opportunity to get his impressions out on Wonder Woman yet. So especially on Wonder Woman, I'm going to let him have more of the floor there. And if anything, I might just still talk about the internet reaction that I talked about from last Sunday. Kind of get Tom's thoughts on it. We're also going to...
the referendum against women?
Gosh. It's weird. It's icky. Like this whole...
Yeah.
I would argue... it reminds me a little bit of Ghostbusters. But I'll explain why when we get to that point. But remind me of that. So there's a reason I make that comparison. Ma Rainey, so we'll talk about that a little bit as well.
Yep.
Tom did not get to see Saul, but we'll touch on that briefly. And then we want to talk about movies we really enjoyed this year. And then Tom was saying it's going to be a little depressing talking about what we'll be excited about next year. He did kind of call me out. I was like, yeah, I didn't say it yet, but it's like, yeah, you're right. There is a little bit of apprehensiveness in me about what's going to happen next year, but I still would rather press forward like things are going to go well until they don't. I'm kind of tired of hedging my bets after last year. I can't do another year of that. So I guess for my mental health, I need to at least try to push forward. And if I get slapped back, then so be it. But the whole it's like I can't. No. Cool.
Agreed.
Tom.
Yeah.
Do you just want to take the floor with 1984?
Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is a movie that I was anticipating the entire year. And then again, because it kept on getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And it was a fine Christmas present to have. Was it a perfect film? No. Was it as good as Wonder Woman? No. But it was still less offensive than BVS, still less offensive than Justice League, still less offensive than Man of Steel. And Suicide Squad and Green Lantern. And so it is still it's interesting that Wonder Woman has like at least 2 out of the top 3, if not out of the top 5, decent DC movies in the past 6 years. I will say that. A couple things, spoilers, graphic, that took me out of it was the caravan scene. Kind of killed it for me a little bit. The caravan and the jet scene, those 2 things we could have done without, because having a guy who learned how to fly in World War II planes that had 38 horsepower.
World War One.
World War One. I'm sorry. Yes.
I was gonna say, at least the jet technology, like he would have understood the concept of it in World War II.
True.
World War One.
No.
Wasn't.
No, these he was still flying planes with lawnmower engines on them, and so that was pretty frustrating. That, like, conceptually, yes, you know, pitch, yaw, thrust, etc. Those things are pretty universal, but planes are complicated, man, especially jets.
There are basic concepts that are going to transfer across aircraft, yes, but
yes.
Yeah.
But actually flying them, it's a little bit different than getting into a car and just driving off. But the other thing, it's just the way that Steve kind of caught on to new technology really kind of bothered me a little bit. And, you know, her writing the RPG and other things like that. So those were my main gripes. I did like the villain. Pedro Pascal is fantastic, usually, and he commits, as we know, to characters.
When they needed a charismatic huckster, like he was there, even though he didn't see himself as that. But it's like, yeah, you need a charismatic charlatan. Yeah, got it. Cool. Boom.
Yep. And honestly, I said this before. It is yet another movie that should have been a Superman film.
Yeah,
in that,
because he feels very Lex Luthor-ish. Wonder Woman feels. I think you and me have talked about the positivity message in it, or like just what does she represent? Is that she's actually saying something positive or like a hopeful message, and just like trying to back that up with their actions in the film, or the film as a whole is trying to like back up that message.
Yep. The other thing that kind of bothers, I saw somebody put out that, you know, the ending message of Wonder Woman 84 was horrible because she was telling you to give up on your dreams. And I think that person really missed the core concept of what we were talking about, because it wasn't dreams that she was asking people to give up on. It was their basest wishes. And like, if you pay attention to the movie, you know, like that scene between Pedro Pascal and his son, or Max Lord and his son, is really interesting, because like he asks him to wish for something, and the kid's like, "I want to spend time with you," and he's like, "No, not like that." Like, you know, it was more, you know, like his power was derived from people wishing for a brand new Porsche or power or other things like that. It was like Taryn had said, it's about fantasies more so than dreams.
But also they're also not based in reality. That goes back to her lesson that she had in the early beginning of the movie. It's like, you're not going to do this. Like when Hippolyta pulls her out of like snatches her from the race, and it's like, you're not going to win that way. And he's like, if you're going to win, you're going to do it based on truth. You're not going to do it. You're not going to live a lie, which is what I think she's also asking him to, like, some of these fantasies might be fine, but it's like, don't live them in like, some of them might be problematic. Like the guy wishing for her, the woman to drop dead. Like, obviously, yeah, that's problematic.
Yep.
But the other one's like, it might be a fine dream that you have, but it's still based in a lie. Kind of going back to like her and Steve Trevor. It's like, you wanting to be back with him is not necessarily the problem. it's what are you doing to have this?
Yeah, like at the beginning of the movie when Steve shows up, I had serious issues with what was going on with that. In that, Steve is somebody else, and he's possessing someone else, and she knows it at first, and then she allows herself to forget it, and then she comes to terms with it again. And you know what? Actually, this movie is the closest parallel I'll ever see to For the Man Who Has Everything on Justice League Unlimited.
What a great episode call out.
Yeah, because that is like hands down one of my favorite DC put to film or put to screen episodes ever. And just a brief synopsis of that is Superman is given a gift by Mongol, I think it is. And it is what's a flower called the Black Mercy, which is a parasite that latches onto people and feeds them their strongest fantasies while it consumes them until they die. And so we get to see what Superman's ultimate fantasy was, which was to be with his family on Krypton and still, and living a normal life on Krypton while it still existed. And in order for him to break out of that, he had to willfully destroy Krypton in his head to break out of it. And just like, Wonder Woman had to willfully destroy her first true love in order to continue on and continue to be Wonder Woman. So I thought that was a lovely parallel and an interesting lesson about sacrifice that, and sacrifices that people make for that, which, some people will say that.
Okay,
go ahead.
But I would say like a setup like that would have worked a little bit better in this movie than the possessing the body. Again, I talked about last Sunday about the autonomy issues of like, really did not think that through. And other people have called that out online as well. It's like him being back is going to be an issue. You already have a magic stone, so you could literally just I wouldn't have blinked an eye if you said, "Oh, the stone just brought him back." Okay, I mean, people would have still nitpicked this movie to death as they already are, but what's that going to be compared to like doing this, which is already weird, and now you've added in a sexual autonomy issue because they wake up in bed, so we know they
I had that thought as well, like so if this dude has any recollection of what went on afterwards, he'd be like, wait a minute, I slept with who? What? And yeah, that's that was an interesting play, but hey, it was the 80s, right?
No. I mean, that is quite, unfortunately, that is quite an 80s trope for just body. We really liked body switching in the 80s. Like, I don't get it. Or making people. It was like, we're going to make people, or we're going to put this thing into somebody, or we're going to switch body. Like, the 80s is just really about possession. I wonder if, I was going to say Poltergeist. I wonder if The Exorcist had something to do with that. I'd be curious. I'd like to see if like there's a chain of events after The Exorcist, and like was an explosion in these. It may not just be that. Maybe other movies too. Like maybe it could be like a Weird Science.
Weird Science is in there. As usual, I blame Cosby. Just to.
Okay. Moving on.
So yeah, I think I'm already like I'm fine with the people that were slightly disappointed with the film. I'm not okay with a lot of people that are just kind of like there's some people that didn't like it, and some people that obviously hated it for their own personal reasons, as opposed to I don't know. It just felt like a lot of the criticism was specifically generated to fulfill an agenda, as opposed to actual criticism of the film. Like somebody said, I couldn't even watch the first 10 minutes. First 10 minutes is a delightful race with baby Wonder Woman, and how can you not like that? Because that was actually pretty well done and
it's definitely definitely one of the stronger parts of the movie. You maybe could have trimmed it down, maybe could have made it a little bit shorter, or honestly, maybe if you just made it a race, like literally just like it's just gonna be or the horseback thing. Maybe you just make it that, so it's not as elaborate. But that's like even me saying that's like a small, like because some people talked about it just being long, and having now rewatched it, I do feel that, because when I was excited for the first time watching it, that didn't really hit me. But now going back for the second time, it's like, oh, okay, there are two lulls in this, and in the first part when people were saying about the 30-minute mark that they're a little exhausted, I'm like, okay, so the first scene, because it is a good chunk, and then you go, because remember you go immediately into the mall, like it's not the race having like dialogue and then mall, it's like action piece, and normally you'd be like, oh well, what's the big deal? What's the big deal with that? It's like, yeah, but they both, like the mall scene takes some time to develop, like, so it has been a bit before we actually get into like what is the thrust of this movie, and now it's about the 30. Like then you go into the Smithsonian and finally get our first shot at Kristen Wiig coming in and talking. So now I can understand where people were getting that 30-minute mark, because they kept saying that over and over again. And I'm like, 30 minutes? Why was it? I was like, oh, okay. Even though there's been action on screen, there hasn't been a whole lot that's really happened. You could almost say this movie starts at the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, other than the plot device of, someone trying to steal the stone, there really isn't anything that the mall scene brings us other than, actually, that was very much kind of like an old school Superman salvation montage that they used to do. Superman 1 and 2.
What do you mean? Sorry, you said
the mall? In the mall, yes.
Oh,
it's
in the
mall.
Sorry.
In the mall. Yes.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about because the party. You said ball. Sorry, no, it wasn't a ball actually. Nope. So take that back. It was just like fundraiser party. So, yeah. Oh, somebody. That mall scene feels like Richard Donner. It feels so Richard Donner-esque, and I don't. What as Tobias Funke says, I don't want to blame it all on 9/11, but it is weird that we have really not been able to do that kind of camp since Batman and Robin, and we know what happened. Now, I'm not saying Batman and Robin is good. That's not, like, obviously it has its issues, but for some reason, any kind of campiness or like you get thrown like a little dash of zany, and people are just out. Like, you can do Deadpool, you can be R-rated, make a bunch of sex jokes, and again, that's not even trying to bash Deadpool, but it's like you can be fourth wall breaking, sex jokes, bunch of gratuitous violence, Ryan Reynolds comedic performance, which is fun, great. It's like you can do that, but if it's not in that coat of paint, it's like we just immediately like, because I've heard some people that criticize, like, they didn't like that. Why did the kid just run out there and she had to grab him? Like, because it's a kid. How many other movies have you watched where the kid runs out into the street and the superhero has the
that is such a strong trope that there's no way that anyone can really. I mean, you can complain that the trope still exists, but not that, I don't know. It seemed like a weak one on that part, on people's parts.
Yeah. It's just, but again, it's like it's like we crave that twinge of darkness in our stuff now. Or like something like if it's too.
Well, some people do.
Yeah, some people do. I think that, honestly, I'm not. Okay. All right. Maybe it's time to actually let's before I get into the outer things happening on the outside of the movie. Let's get, if you have any other thoughts in movie, let's get those before I go like out of the movie issues, because that's where I want to get to the Ghostbusters comparison. I think that's where I'll hopefully explain where I think some division is happening up.
I think that there was it was a bit ham-fisted and at the same time weak as to Kristen Wiig's motivations.
She's Max from Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like Jamie Foxx's Electro, basically. It's like they just copy pasted, and they were doing a good job there for a while for not going full into those tropes. Like they played it a little bit, and they were doing some things. I was like, oh, okay, you're not doing it. And then as soon as she started fiddling with the glasses and the heels and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, no, okay, that's what. All right, so close.
Yep.
So close.
Also, I could deal without, but enjoyed the callback response to the dress sequence in original Wonder Woman to the outfit sequence in '84 with Steve. A lot of it I felt was a little memberberry going on, but other than that,
oh come on.
Oh, member parachute pants?
Oh, you mean like 80s and stuff? Okay, not to Wonder Woman, but to.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate that their gags happen in a sequence, and they're not. I think I said this on Sunday too. Is that I can't stand the Marvel everyone needs to be Tony Stark cut tension with jokes style in every single movie. So for Wonder Woman, it's refreshing that it's like, yeah, because we saw that in the trailers. Like, I know the scene's going to happen, but they're not going to be talking about that every single time after it. It's not going to be some kind of joke to go back to every single time, or they feel the need to plug it in. It's going to be a bit, it's going to happen, and then we're going to move on. It's like, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, I think we can move outside outside of the movie, because I do also want to talk about that as well, because I think that's human sentiment right now is one of the reasons why it's not well received.
Real quick, Nell was saying I think her character Wiig has lost some of her interestingness and potential development as she lost connection with Diana when Steve showed up, and that could be. I don't think this movie has a too many villains problem, but it is kind of like, well, yeah, if you take Steve out, then it's you keep developing Cheetah and Wonder Woman's friendship, so that we get a little more invested in it when it starts to fall apart. Because really, it's just the dinner scene when they actually establish any kind of bond, and then that's what we're expected to carry them on through the rest of the movie. And I'm sorry, that scene's not like a classic coffee scene between, like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in frickin' Heat. It's nothing that impactful. I do think their later conversations are good. I think they would be better had they worked in getting them closer. Because I like that they had the opportunity in the White House when they're having that fight of like her putting it on the line of like, no, this is why. Like, this is what it's all about. This is why I'm gonna take his side or back him up because of what it means for me. It's like, cool. We don't always get that. I like that. But again, would have been more impactful. Some better.
Yeah, they needed to fatten up that pig before they slaughtered it in the storyline.
All right. Cool. All right. I'm gonna try to explain this one because we could be here for a while talking about Ghostbusters. And actually, I learned this lesson not early, but I learned it about when Ocean's 8 came out. Because I am a big Ocean's 11's fan. Love Steven Soderbergh. Love the way that they talk, the language that's developed in the Ocean's. If you ever watched the movie Brick, I would compare Brick and Ocean's favorably in that they both very quickly establish a way that their characters talk. They've got code names for heists. And you can kind of like pick up some of the breadcrumbs of like, oh, I bet that involves doing this, and then they talk about pieces of like you see some of it happen on screen, and just like there's just the way the movie flows and goes. And to me, Ocean's 8 didn't have that. It's not that it's a bad movie. Ocean's 8 just didn't have that. Some people really liked it, some people didn't. And when it comes to like getting diversity in movies, there's just going to be some movies that aren't good. It doesn't mean that that necessarily needs to be an attack on someone's race, ethnicity, or like go down the laundry list. It just means like that movie may not have been good, or that movie just may not resonate with you, which is another.
Yes.
Let's go back to the Ocean's 8 example, because I have some friends that just really love it, and I'm like, okay, it's just not going to be the movie for me because I have a certain way I liked the Ocean's movies. Now, I think one fix for that would have been just having the original director come back to do Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock and dang, I wanted to say Kristen Wiig. That is not right. Sorry.
No. Anne Hathaway.
No, Anne Hathaway ended up being like the. Hold on, I'm just gonna look it up real quick. Sorry, folks. Because I'm thinking Lord of the Rings, and I can't. Kate Blanchett. Dang, I remembered it before I typed.
Okay.
Cool. Because I thought them as a duo would have been like as fantastic. Actually, they're not that bad as a duo in the movie. Again, it just kind of goes back to the language thing. But as a duo, they're like Brad Pitt, George Clooney, like great. So some people really loved that more than I did. And the thing I got to remember also as a viewer is like, I'm not exactly the target audience for that one. Is it supposed to be a blockbuster? Is it supposed to try to resonate with the most people as possible? Yes. But still, it's not always going to be geared towards me. Cool. But the reason I bring up Ghostbusters, let me rewind, is that very quickly, see if I can hit the bullet points super quick. Everyone in the industry knew that movie was going to be bad. The actresses in the movie wanted to get out. The producers and the directors realized they'd made a terrible turd, realized it was bad. And then the trailer comes out, and it diverts the entire thing away from real set production issues that were documented, things that we knew were happening, and that everyone was dissatisfied with what they were making. So then this narrative comes out, which is very true. It's like there was a very misogynist narrative that came out along with it, because that got it was the most disliked, downvoted video in YouTube history, and I think it still is. So you have that, and then you have people coming to defend it, saying we need to go watch it. And Sony just quietly gets to like back up and act like, oh, we're yeah, that's why it's not good, because the trolls on the internet. I was like, well, this is icky because yes, but also no, it's not quite what's going on here. And then the movie comes out, and I would argue that most people can't remember a lot about it. It's not one that's brought up in conversation a lot. I hear people talk about like Bridesmaids, The Heat, a variety of other comedies before we get back to that movie. So why is that relevant to Wonder Woman? Because I don't think it's that. I think we're kind of in this another spot where it's not very clear cut. Because I think there's plenty of fans, women among them, that just didn't like it. And I think it also represented a lot for them that, or had a particular impact they wanted, and the movie just did not fulfill that need, or at least not in the same way that the first Wonder Woman did. And I think this kind of falls back into that Ocean's 8 kind of category. It's like it is going to resonate for some people, and it is going to resonate and hit the themes that people need. But did it hit all the technical things that were going to make it like a box office hit for everyone else? No. And I think that is a legitimate thing to say. Like, it did not hit enough of these boxes for it to be universally acclaimed across. So if you like it, it's okay. And if you don't like it, that can also be okay. But then when we start running into issues, is like the whys, which we've gotten into some of those to start when we talked about our reviews of it. That was a lot. Hopefully that track to make sense. If people have questions, definitely throw them out in the comments. But I'm just trying to relate one complicated situation, because it's not clear, it's not cut and dry. It was never cut and dry on Ghostbusters, and I don't think it's cut and dry on 1984 either.
Well, I think also, and I don't want to say that this is because the main character is a woman, but I think that this kind of goes back to what I said before when you and I talked about, is like Wonder Woman is one of the best Superman films. And it's because I think that the way that they address things in the Wonder Woman films is not always about kicking the crap out of somebody. And that doesn't resonate with people. especially men, and also a message of hope that doesn't necessarily involve, again, kicking the crap out of somebody. Like, so, spoiler, Wonder Woman and Max Lord have a long-standing relationship in the comics. And I legit thought that this movie was leading up to Wonder Woman snapping his neck on international television, like she did in the comics famously. And everybody was in an uproar when that happened, and she didn't live that down for probably a couple years. To the point, like, Superman wasn't talking to her. Batman was pretty furious but understood. And
like he's got any room to talk. Like Batman.
Well, and listen, Batman doesn't kill people; he just lets them die.
I'm gonna hit you in the face with a batarang that's got blades on both sides. You'll be fine.
So yeah, and as Nell's mentioning, and what I'm getting at is that her solution to the problem was showing people the truth and appealing to their humanity, as opposed to kicking the crap out of him. And that doesn't resonate with people. And that's something that maybe just becoming the old man that I am is something I'd like to see more of out of superheroes. Is, if you're somebody who's coming from that much power, that's a thing that killed me with BVS from the moment that Superman even considered taking on Batman. Is Superman, I don't care who he's up against, he's coming from a position of power. Everybody says, oh, Batman's the only guy that's smart enough to take out Superman. He's not. He is not. All right, Superman can just fly into orbit and just kill him with anything he wanted. And
just fly into space and leave him up there.
Yeah, or he could take him up with him. Why not?
Like,
and his last words could be like, "Hey, let's find out if bats really can fly."
Yeah. I want to jump in for a sec.
Sure.
So Patty Jenkins has been on record coming out pretty strongly the last week or so about the previous ending to Wonder Woman, which confirmed suspicions I've had for a long time. And I'm glad. I was like, finally. Because everyone's gripe about Wonder Woman, the first movie, even though it's an amazing movie, was why did she fight Ares? That it feels like you haven't been leading to that. Especially like, why would he suit up and need to fight you? Because like, he's already won. Like, it's like, because his whole thing is like, I don't think you understand. Like, I don't need to fight. Like, I'm winning. They're fighting. It's not. I'm not casting a spell. I'm not. I mean, sure, I'm moving pieces into places, but it's like he should almost like revel in it. It's like this is like a game to me. I don't. It's like it doesn't. I'm not going to lose regardless if I don't move these things around. Like I could still win. And she's like, so she came out of record. It's like, no, yeah, I did not want them to fight. It's like that didn't make any sense. It's like him suited up in a armor at the end. It's like that we had not been building to that. It's like there's some things she could do with her fist, sword, shield. It's like, but when we get to that, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying like this ending was an apology for that, but I do feel like had that happened in the original movie, I think we could already be past this. The processing that people need to do for this kind of different ending, like, because this is what it should have been. It should have been her in a situation that's like, you can't use your fist to get out of this. You just can't. There's nothing for you to. Yeah, sure, you can stop the German war machine, or the Ottoman. It's like, yeah, you can stop that, but there's still going to be something else tomorrow. That would have been great, and you can get to 84 and have to continue to have these complicated challenges that you like. Some things you have the power to beat, but other things just like you're gonna have to do some other diplomacy or conversation, But now that we're in the second movie and having to deal with that, on top of like other expectations, I feel like it's a messy mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of goes back to that quote I said on the show a couple weeks ago. That one of the reasons why we can't move forward with Star Trek is why we're going to everything prequel after the Next Generation era and not moving on is that we as a society are having difficulty imagining a future with that type of hope. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people are have visceral reactions to what Wonder Woman's trying to portray.
Yeah.
Because it's not real enough. It's not gritty. I'm not even talking about dark. It's like we need that twinge of reality in there.
Yeah. What twinge of reality? What reality are you talking about?
Yeah, super.
How many times have you fought a god? Or
we get
and I'll blame myself on this too. We gotta stop saying that. We really got. We need to take realism out of our vocabulary. Now, if you want to say grounded in like the physics of the world or different things like that, sure. But there is plenty. Like, I love Captain America, but he doesn't have a gun most of the time. Like, he had a gun in World War II, but he doesn't have a gun most of the time. I'm not even advocating gun ownership. I'm just saying there are situations where this would be easier if he had a gun, and he's fighting people with guns, and his shield's just supposed to that he tosses the majority of the time, so he doesn't always have to protect himself.
So, but not only that, but in the first one, he even uses some crappy prop shield as well on his first one.
Oh.
So yeah, I agree. I prefer the term grounded instead of real, because whenever I hear people talk about being real, it's always a trumped up fantasy. Like, you do this in martial arts all the time. You need to pressure test. You need to do real world testing on your techniques. And those pressure tests and real world tests usually are, oh, I've seen you practice this technique several times. Now I've already come up with a counter for it right away, and I'm going to immediately be able to do this counter on you. And that's the type of weird fantasy / reality that a lot of people are talking about when they talk about realism.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I've got thoughts and feelings about this stuff.
Yeah. But that's why I brought up, so that goes back to the reasons, the bad reasons for not liking this. Like, I had someone that hated the ending because they thought it was like, it's like trying to reach out to libertarian bros' wet dreams of like individual responsibility, and they need to learn that. I'm trying to remember what else they said. That being realizing that your actions are hurting others is what will eventually get you out of that. I'm like, that could be a lesson that came out of it, but wow, that feels like a stretch. Oof.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not posing that to you for you to have to go dissect that. I'm just putting that out as like, that's one of a litany of what.
Yeah, the libertarian angle is kind of interesting. I want to read that one through.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find my friend's
little
comment,
more.
and maybe we'll talk about that one another time. Some of the stuff was getting into like Last Jedi territory of like, let me pick one up. How did the bombs from that ship drop vertically? It's like, gravity, man. I don't know.
Dude,
like, are we debating physics in Star Wars? Is this what's happening right now? Like, I yelled.
These are ships that fly like planes in space. You can let the bombs drop. It's okay.
It's like, you will live. How did Princess Leia survive in space? I don't know. Her dad was Darth Vader. I don't care. Shut.
She can be Space Mary Poppins.
Speaking of which, Yondu floats down on his arrow, and we're cool with that. But we can't have actual Space Mary Poppins use the Force. Shut. Oh my God. So yeah, it's there's misogyny streaks in it, as far as like having to deal with that in the fandom. But there's also just people latching on to bad ideas. It's like some of the criticisms I totally agree with, and if I re-review it, if I give it like a straight up re-review, I definitely take those into consideration and will change it accordingly. It's like, because those are good things that I did not observe or did not hit me on my first watch that I've seen now. It's like, cool. It's like, y'all have made some solid points. There's other stuff though that's just wow.
Wait, and can I talk for a second about one of the things that we're overlooking is how quiet everyone's been about Tenet versus Wonder Woman. Because I mean, I might be picking a fight with you right now. But
we'll see. Go ahead. We'll see if I'll allow.
Tenet was technically beautifully done from a special effects cinematography perspective, etc. But Nolan is now falling into the Wachowski trap of using his like high school philosophy and physics notes to.
No, I don't know if I feel where you're going. Dang it.
But
no, I was talking
like,
about. Actually, I was talking about. Who was I talking to? I don't think I was on the show. I may not have done this on the show, so I apologize, folks, if I didn't. Dr. Vidago, who did?
Dr. Zhivago?
Yeah, and Lawrence of Arabia. I can't remember the director's name. I'll look it up. So there was because he loved 70mm, and well, what he'd been known for before Lawrence of Arabia, before he started getting to these large scale epics, was a lot smaller, shorter kind of romance stories, kind of romance movies. And it's not that the scale in Lawrence of Arabia is bad. That's actually one of its benefits. People love the look of it, along with a very interesting story to go like those are tied. Thank you, David Lean. Oh, Watkins is on. Hey.
Good morning, Stephen.
But David Lean later would kind of, and something he was criticized for later was, and they didn't other reviewers didn't specifically say it this way, but the YouTuber I want to find, I think his channel is called Rebel Ocean. If I find it, I'll put his channel in the links because he's doing some good stuff over there. But he's got a Christopher Nolan critique, and he used David Lean as an example of you're diving so far into spectacle that we're losing the core of like character, and even so much so that like now your plot threads are starting to unravel as a result of it. So there's a reason I kind of buffer against the Wachowskis is because like it's not necessarily I wouldn't put that philosophy lens on it. He literally decided I'm going to make my protagonist name the protagonist.
Yes, I do actually kind of appreciate that.
I mean, he was just kind of like, no, we don't really need it. Like this is just going to move forward. And I think so. Where I see the parallel, but again, I guess this is not saying like I see conceptually where they're similar between him and the Wachowskis. Is that he is very interested in the concept of time. That's very apparent. It's something that's like been in. Shoot, I mean, like what movie has it not been in? Because even the Dark Knight movies, it's like even if that's not an explicit theme.
No, he plays with time in the Dark movies.
Yeah, he plays it in all of it. So much so that again, this one was just like he wanted to make it like the literal embodiment of it through different ways. But the spectacle of that has become so massive and so large that it's made the plot confusing because there's people that are. Mm-hmm. I was getting texts as people got the Blu-ray and like when it dropped on rental on Blu-ray, like not from you and other folks, they're just like, man, I don't know. I'm 20 minutes in, and I'm like,
yep,
yeah. The weird thing,
and that's where my parallel with the Wachowskis is that like Cloud Atlas, Jupiter Ascending, all have these like freshman year of college philosophy ideas that are churned into feature films, and I felt like Nolan had this half-baked concept that he can't really flesh out in the film in order to be the basis of the film. And I think like that, like Tenet was gorgeous. And, after maybe about 45 minutes, I was just like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm here for the ride. But I feel like that was just I don't know. I feel like Tenet should have been panned more than Wonder Woman in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, no, I don't think it's. Well, I mean, one, it could be exposure. It could be the amount of people that had an opportunity to watch it. Because, again, we've covered extensively on this show how much he wanted. And there's been, as much as I got into him about it, like, there's been some more back and forth about how much control he had on that as well. Because now Warner Brothers is really showing their hands. And it sounds like they've really been forced on a lot of stuff, not just the HBO Max releases either. So it seems like they are very adamant on trying to make some money back earlier this year before just giving up. So we could still pick at Nolan on that as far, but also get Warner Brothers in that too, because you were still publicly advocating for it. So,
and to your point, I do think more people watch Wonder Woman than they did watch.
And I think that's the key. I think that's the key thing why we're seeing, like, because if you look at the reviews, just like literally like either certified or just blog user reviews, like they're relatively similar. Wonder Woman started out very high and it's gotten down to like the 70s. I think might be at 65. I'd have to check. And Tenet might be a little bit higher, but it's still like it's probably his lowest rated film. It's not in the 80s. It's like I think it was 76 last time I saw that. So at least in that sphere, and it's a little bit closer because, and I think there's also good bulk of reviewers that were having a similar. It may not have been in the early 20 minutes, but it might have been closer to the first red room, blue room scene where you're having the now if you don't understand the concept of how this works, your brain's really going to be stretched on like trying to maintain. Because I have to admit, I didn't get confused in the first 20 minutes, but that's where I started to lose it. That's when I was like, wait, okay, shit, I thought I had it. Now, and I kind of saw that. I kind of saw that consistently in the reviews of like, yeah, there just seems to be this point where you have to just let go of trying to get it, because if you don't, you'll be frustrated. By the end.
And that was actually the first time they fight in the hallway. That was one of the things that was like, is one of them fighting backwards? How does that work? Type of situation. So, So I think overall Wonder Woman is, definitely still in the top 3 in the last 5 years. I'll say, or 5 or 6 years since 2015.
Yeah, top 5, and I wasn't ready to rank it last week, but I still think I think I'd put original Wonder Woman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, if I'd had a fourth. I think my debate is like, did I enjoy Aquaman or did I enjoy 84 more? And that's where I can't quite, because I think there's just some scenes, and I think you and me had talked about like the Italy scene 2 or 3 weeks ago, where I'm like, I don't care what it was like. That's just a really good scene. That's just fantastically put together. Like that's a great moment. So I don't know. That might be, maybe I'll leave them tied for 4th or something. Or like honestly, flipping them 4 or 5. I'm not gonna really lose any sleep on that. But yeah, first Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, and then Shazam for me, and the DC movies.
Yep. I'm about there as well. I'm not sure. I think I vacillate between 84 and Birds of Prey right now.
Cool. Which we still have a re-review coming, folks. We've had to reschedule some stuff, and we'll get to it.
Yep.
Yeah. We haven't forgotten.
So, Ma Rainey.
Yeah. Let me check the comments because I felt like we had a few. Yeah, I had Steven giving us the good morning. Did I finish my David Lean point? I know you guys.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of his later movies just kind of got excessive in the scale department, particularly for when he got back to smaller dramatic stories. And it's like, bring us back into that shot. Like, why do you have this log sweeping? I forget what the movie is. There's also just like this large sweeping beach shot of the 2 characters walking along. And you got the audio mix there, listening to what they're talking about. And we're like, I feel no connection to them from this shot. Why did you pick this? Cool. Yeah. Ma Rainey was fantastic.
Yep.
I just had if you have never seen an August Wilson play done, hello Peppers. If you've never seen a Ma Rainey play, or not, sorry, Ma Rainey, but August Wilson play done live, definitely recommend. Once everything is settled down, go support your local theater. But I mean, we'd heard so many things through the grapevine about their Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman's performance. I don't know if it was you, but our friend Jalen out in L.A. He's like, why is everybody so excited? I was like, I did August Wilson in high school. He's like, why is everyone so excited about this right now? I'm like, cause Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman. That's why. It's like, that's those two names alone. That's it. Even before, I would have been excited about it before everything happened this past year. It's like, but now that it just adds more, double weight onto it.
Yeah, I usually have an aversion to plays becoming film, because often I feel like directors try and make them plays instead of films. Like there's just a different vibe in the way that you tell the story. But this was actually done pretty good, but it still had that feel of a play in a film. But what really blew me away, I will be furious if Viola Davis doesn't get an Oscar win, let alone a nomination for this.
Oh, they're getting nominated. If they don't, I'm gonna burn the whole thing down. I said that last week.
You Public Enemy.
I single-handedly
Burn Hollywood Burn.
I will pull a Jason Goodplace Molotov cocktail out of nowhere and just
because Viola Davis just transforms into Ma Rainey, and it's gorgeous. It's just
it's like you can't stop looking. Also, it's like you're just kind of I can't believe that's her. And not it's not a like weight thing or anything like that. It's just a like physical embodiment, and of the moment. Like she's just owning it the entire time.
Oh it's just like I was smitten with the character development of Ma Rainey, and just what was created on screen. It was just so good. I mean, this was, I don't want to say it was flawless, but pretty damn close. Yeah. And I was listening to NPR the other day. They were talking about Ma Rainey and doing more, and how Denzel Washington has a relationship with August Wilson's widow, I think. And how that is going to be, how he's been kind of the custodian for putting his plays to film. And it's kind of interesting because it looks like HBO has basically given up the rights to August Wilson to Netflix to make more. So there's a strong possibility that there's going to be more August Wilson plays on Netflix in the coming years, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Okay, one.
Sure, it's pretty. Stephen wrote is pretty spot on for the feel of film being accurately done as the play. The only difference is that in the film, the characters can be shown in a few other locations than the main building.
I have my door wide open.
Oh. So and Stephen, that is a good point. That it did feel like I was watching a play during the entire thing. Right down to, and it's kind of a play. I won't say a trope, but it definitely is something, the door that he keeps banging on to try and get into it and see what, that door that wasn't there before.
Yeah. And he talks about that in the documentary of, that's because usually it doesn't actually end that way in the play. He doesn't actually get to go into it. But he's like, hey, we're in a movie. I can actually let something be on the other side of that. And foreshadow things are going to happen later on.
So, and two other things didn't happen in the play that happened in the movie. And one is, it really was kind of useless. The sex scene wasn't in the play. And also, Ma Rainey signing her rights wasn't in the play, which was, that was a heavy-hitted thing.
Yeah. But I also think they wanted to make, I feel like they wanted to make the music steal, the complication of royalties that like alluded to. I think they wanted to make that a little bit stronger. I think it's just something they want, or not stronger, but I think it's just something they wanted to emphasize to kind of foot stomp a little bit more.
Yeah, it hit hard that she signs, and then a couple beats later, you see a bunch of these white guys singing "Jelly Roll," and
well, hold on, but they're not singing. They're singing Levy. They're singing Levy's song.
Yeah, Jelly Roll.
Yeah,
my Jelly Roll. Which, the two together.
Yeah, I mean, we said it last week. It's such a good generational rift movie as well. And I was like, that's something I definitely want to call out of like someone that's not at the end of her career, but she's definitely like on the back end, and he's and then Levy's also trying to like get his cement his, but he's impatient. And I think Taryn had brought this up a week, something that felt odd to her, or like stood out to her about the about like, hey, as a matriarchal part of society, and you're kind of like Levy's just kind of trampling all over it. I'm like, we could be here for a while talking about the we could be here for a while talking about the black man trying to like make himself successful in white America, coming out of a matriarchal family dynamic, and then being confronted with like nuclear family type, where it's like the man's got to be the head, or man's got to be successful. It's like they didn't like, it's alluded to. Crap, lost my thought there for a second. Yeah, it's alluded to, but those things are definitely in play. Like when I see them two in particular having issues, and it's not the old heads, the other musicians that have an issue with my writing, like they still will step to her occasionally, but even you saw Cutler, the one time he did it, was still like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma. But and actually, the other thing that I liked about at least the very beginning was the fraternal order of the musicians, and how they interacted with each other, and because they were all associates. Some of them didn't tour together. They were a collection of people, and just how they went back and forth imparting wisdom on each other and competing with each other, and the way that they talked about industry gossip and other things like that back and forth. I thought that was kind of really well done.
Yeah, that moment, so good.
Yes. So if you have not seen it yet, I'm pretty sure most of our audience has, but if you haven't, go see it. Steal someone's Netflix password and watch it.
We're not going to spend a ton of time on Soul. I was hoping I'd get my reviews out on My Rainey and Soul on Monday, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But it is, we talked about it extensively last Sunday, so I definitely would recommend check that video out, especially since Tom hasn't seen it. I don't want to spend blade on it too much, but it's not Pixar's best. I don't think it's terrible, like it's been talked about online, but it just, there seems like there's two visions together, and had they opted for, like, if you want to talk about the afterlife, do that. If you want to talk black musicianship, do that. There might even be a version of these two together that works. I just don't think it's this one. You know, so it's like if you get disengaged from the movie, I get it. I'm not gonna like. There's people that are like, yeah, I couldn't get 30. Like, yeah, that goes that 30-minute thing again. Like, yeah, I couldn't get 30 minutes into it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I still enjoyed what happened towards the end, and I think the resolution at the end is quite beautiful. So I think that was definitely where stuff really came together. But it is a drag to get there, and I'm not one to recommend like, oh, if you just get through the first 2 seasons, it's better. I tell you all the trash that's happened up front. I was like, yeah, you might like this by season 3, but I'm telling you, it's a slog for 1 and 2. If people want to watch Star Trek Discovery, I recommend you do it. But I'm not gonna lie to you and act like season 1 and 2 are beautiful.
They're trying to find themselves. Yeah.
So same thing for the beginning of this movie. It ain't. You might be out. You might be asleep before you get to the sweet. You can get to the sweet stuff. So.
Yeah, I generally have. So lately, Pixar films have been hard for me to start, just because they do too good of a job at tugging at my emotional strings. So.
Looking at you, Toy Story 4.
Yeah. Actually, I never saw Toy Story 4 because so many people said that they cried during it that I didn't have time for that mess. And I also haven't seen Up for that very reason.
Come on, Tom.
Yep.
It's probably got the best 5-minute no vocal scene that communicates so much.
I've heard, and I've heard that it's hauntingly beautiful, and heartbreaking. But yeah,
Tom.
Like, yeah.
Have you seen Coco?
No.
Tom.
No.
Tom.
Actually, now that I think about it, the last.
Mama Coco.
I think The Incredibles 2 was like the last Pixar movie that I really.
You would watch a superhero movie. You would.
Oh, please. And yes, I am avoiding emotions because I know where I'm at right now, and I don't need to expose myself to just general sadness.
Also, everyone that wants a Fantastic Four movie, we already have that. It's called Incredibles and Incredibles 2.
Yes.
So stop it. Cut it out. We don't need John Krasinski and Emily Blunt coming in to be... That actually is not a bad casting. Like, if that ends up being it, that ain't bad for Sue Storm and Reed Richards. Like, that ain't bad. But no. Stop it.
Well, I'm glad they're not doing, like, teenager Reed Richards anymore in their castings.
Oh, gosh. Michael Chiklis, early Chris.
So yeah, Soul is going to be on my list. It's there at some point. I will see it.
I mean, music's great. There's some fun scenes in it. It's just the whole is just not. It's just not that great.
That's one thing I wanted to talk about Wonder Woman 1984. Just to bring it back real quick, is I laughed because I saw a bunch of people like, oh, they did this in the 80s and they didn't do any 80s music. And they're so wrong, because what they did was they played a lot of B-side stuff that didn't quite make top 40 or, in the bottom half of top 40 during that era or during that year.
It might be a little easier music rights to get as well.
Easier music rights, but I thought that was brilliant, because really in the 80s, that is what you would hear as well. I mean, sure, you would hear like Take On Me or something like that, but there's also a whole bunch of other stuff that never made it to like past top 20 that you heard on the radio all the time, and you heard in malls, and you heard everywhere else. So yeah, I thought that was really good.
Steven's saying there should be a music issue with Up. I'm not sure. Music issue. Can you explain that more?
Yeah.
While you're doing that, me and Tom will get ready to chat about our Favorites of the year. This is not Oscar. This is not our Oscar talk. I'm gonna wait.
No.
There's a few other movies I need to watch before I do that. So this just be like personally, what were some of our favorites from the year?
And so, yeah, what was one of your favorites, and why was it Sonic the Hedgehog?
It was not Sonic the Hedgehog. There's hundreds. Oh, not probably not hundreds, but there's dozens of Groundhog Day style Star Trek episodes, TV episodes of like stuck in a loop kind of thing. And it's like, how could you beat Groundhog's Day? Like just like how could you top it? And I'm not saying that Andy Samberg and Kristen Milanotti and Palm Springs on Hulu beats. I'm not saying that it beats Groundhog's Day. But if it's not in the same tier or stratosphere for you, then I don't know if we're watching the same movie. Just because I was in tears for different parts of it. The surprise, J.K. Simmons popping in for a little bit as the kid's kind of arch nemesis. Like if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. I don't want to ruin that for you because it's really good. And instead of like trying to shy away from the mechanics of how the thing works, they're like, now we're gonna go into it, like not necessarily in depth, but it's like we're gonna go into it. And they also get onto one thing that some people try to do, the math of Groundhog's Day, of like, okay, so if he learned how to play piano and if he did these things, like how long was he in there to be able to do these? So they take that as a concept of like, well, if you're in here this long, what could you learn? And if you could learn that, what would it allow you to do being stuck in a situation? And I'm going to leave it at that. But that was one dynamic in it that just like blew me away. I was like, well, it's a really good plot point toward the end, and I think it's very good physical comedy from Andy Samberg. Get some emotional depth from Samberg as well. So comedians tend to do really well with this. I know Jim Carrey is probably one of the more recent examples that I can always go back to, starting with like The Truman Show and like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But yeah, or hell, Sandler, Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems. I was gonna say Spanglish, but the one Rain Over Me is probably the other one I really like, where he gets into a dramatic role. So again, not dramatic, but this is Sandberg showing more depth. I would not be surprised if I could see him do something else where he really jumps into it.
Yeah. I'd be kind of curious and look forward to seeing him be more serious and see what he can do with that.
Yeah. Let's see. What did Steven say? The music that you love is the same as the music from a Spanish film called Sex and Lucia. Ooh.
Huh.
You saying Michael Giacchino plagiarized? I don't believe it. He's a modern musical composition renaissance man. What are you talking about? I don't want to believe it. It might be true. I'll hunt it down. Honestly, actually, Steven, I guess I'm wondering, did they have that as like one of the what do you call it? Wow. I'm a big movie soundtrack nerd, and I'm failing on like a stand-in track. When you don't have the music for it done yet, you put in a track to just like generally have an idea of how the feel of it. And then so many times in the past 10 years, directors have really been like, yeah, just give me that. But not buying the song, they're asking the composer to just vaguely recreate the thing. You know, which also, did anyone else feel like it was weird having the Marfa track at the end climax of 84? If you don't know what I'm talking about the Bruce Wayne's parents died, Marfa. Why did you say that name? Marfa! From BVS.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
wait? There was a scene like that in 84.
You didn't hear it? Go back and rewatch 84 when she's got the rope on Max's leg. It's the Marfa music. I was almost thrown.
Oh man!
There's other reasons I was almost thrown out. I'd seen it, but that was the first part. I was like, "What? What? You're not gonna Marfa him, are you? Don't do that. Don't do that. No, we don't need that right now. Cool. Tom, what did you give me one you
Oh man, I need to break this down because like
this is not your top one. It's just just talk about one that you like.
So well, we talked about Rainey, which I think might be my top this year. Surprisingly, it isn't Bloodshot.
Stop.
Or the New Mutants.
Stop.
But the one that I do want to talk about, which was just possibly the most delightful film I've seen in a while, and specifically the word delightful is Enola Holmes. I thought that was really well done. It was fun. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it was also still pretty smart throughout the whole thing. I just thought that was a great film.
Yeah.
And thoroughly enjoyable. I'm kind of looking through all the stuff that came out, and there's a lot that I did not see this year.
Dang it, Tom. You had one job. I kid.
More like it's just because with the lack of a movie theater to kind of be your aggregator of film that comes out, it's a little bit harder to track because something came out on Hulu, something came out on Netflix, something came out on HBO Max, something came out on CBS All Access, or the Peacock. Peacock. Kenneth,
I hate that. God, it's a terrible streaming service name. NBC, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Now they're just biding their time to when they can call themselves the Cock.
Actually, so let me pull up. There's a Tom Holland movie that came out on Netflix.
The Trial of the Chicago 7 I need to still see.
Tom, what are you doing?
You're
disappointing me. The Devil All the Time. That was another one that I thoroughly enjoyed. Kind of like a... it honestly felt like Fargo set in coal country. I think that's a pretty good explanation for it. I'm not trying to belittle it by any means. Because not belittle. Because I really like Fargo, and I'm not saying that's like the simplest way to say it. But just hopefully I give you an idea of the vibe that movie had. Because there's kind of like they're not loosely connected vignettes, but it's kind of like following a trail of chaos, started in one family across, and how it affect. Sometimes directly affected or loosely affected. Maybe that's the best way to say it. It's not saying like this one incident caused all these things. It's like, but it's just seeing how these people were connected for but not in a way of like, say, Crash, when everyone lost their minds for like, I think that was overblown. To like, has anyone actually gone back and rewatched Crash ever since that? It feels like one of those just event Hollywood movies where you get throw Matt Dillon and Vandy Newton and who else? Don Cheadle. Like you just throw a bunch of faces in it, and like and act. It's like, but is there anything act? It's like, but do you want to say act?
just keep acting.
Is there any point to act? That's what I call it. It's not a Crash movie. It may have the structure of a Crash movie, but it's not a Crash movie. So, what were you going to say, Tom? Sorry, I felt like I cut you off.
Oh, no. I'm still thinking about other films. Like, for better or for worse, a lot of bad movies came out this year, too.
we can always depend on them finding a way.
Yes. I'm looking at the stuff that I haven't seen, like Doolittle. I did watch The New Mutants, which was just like a very long pilot episode for a TV series that I just didn't care about.
Well, I was gonna say, if we do talk TV, I mean, generally, I think Lovecraft Country is probably going to be pretty high up there for me. But also, I covered West Wing, not West Wing. I covered Westworld a lot to start at the pandemic, and I feel like it's a shame a lot of people have not seen that show. And there was I don't know if it was on the Mary Sue. I have to hunt down the. Actually, no, I think it was a meme that was calling out women-bodied or like female-gendered AI, which also, yeah, just gendering AI in general is a. It's like, why do we do that? But I think that says more. I think that actually says more about us as the creators of that than the AI itself. But it was noting a trend and. Almost like, it was noting that trend and kind of associating the why are all the women robots now becoming all murderous examples of that? And I'm like, you're not entirely wrong. There are definitely, I think there is a phase. I think there is a phase of that. But I also think there's some other, and that's the reason I put up Westworld, because it has every intention to make you think that that's what is going to happen. And if you've not seen season 3, again, I don't want to ruin that for you, but it dismantles that quite well and quite enjoyably well. So I'm really excited for what happens next. But there's a lot of AI conventions that have been established in the first 2 seasons that are now getting. It's like, so what it really is making you as an audience member think why do you think that? What? It's like why do you have that concern? It's like why is this an issue? So I probably should come back around and get that more in-depth thing here, but I'll see if I get some time to get to knock and write that out.
Well, I think we were talking about this last night a little bit, or at least maybe it was just Stephen and I, when I was talking about androids and how what we've people now believe androids is the pinnacle of robotics. Is making a humanoid robot, and it's not in any way. Like if you talk to a person who designs robots, they're like, "Oh yeah, that'll be cool," but I've built this 8-arm robot that can change out a transmission in a Buick in 15 minutes, which is way cooler than having just a humanoid android. But I think that a lot of what we see in sci-fi as these pinnacle or these achievement moments is actually just weak production value that they explain away by saying, "Oh no, this is the ultimate in what we can do."
It's like showing 8 arms would be difficult for us, so they just have 4 arms, and this is the easier. Or sorry, 2 arms. And, 2 legs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. We could build another Robbie the Robot with 8 arms and other things like that, or we can just paint a guy gold and say he's a robot and be done with it.
Yeah. Hey, that is one reason I like the aliens in Men in Black versus the aliens in Star Trek. It's not a knock on Star Trek. It's like, but do you think every advanced species just happens to fit in a humanoid shape? And okay.
To Next Generation's credit, they did try very hard in a 2-episode arc to explain why that happens.
I mean, if anything, everything always tries to evolve into crabs, as has been firmly established. So we should see more crab alien species.
More crab people.
Starship Troopers was on the right path. They had spiders. It should have been crabs. Should have been a boatload of crabs. Would that have been more terrifying? Actually having an appendage that a movable appendage, yoink, yeet.
Well, that, and also I'm just thinking if they actually were crabs, the Paul Verhoeven PSAs, that they had in between would have been, "So you've got the crabs."
Yeah, it would have been low hanging fruit, but they would have went for it.
Yep.
Especially Paul Verhoeven movie, he would not have shied away from that whatsoever.
Nope.
Cool.
And a quick aside to that, I watched RoboCop 1 and 2. I will not watch RoboCop 3 anymore.
What, you don't like when the police force is militarized to help gentrify the rest of Detroit? What?
And then he has to fight.
Start blowing up black neighborhoods? What? You don't...
That and also having him fight a robot ninja.
Oh, God. That did happen.
Yep.
I forgot that happened. Wait, that doesn't even have Frank...
Peter Weller?
Yeah, Peter Weller. He's not even in that one, is he?
I don't think so. And what's her face?
Or is it the other way around? He's back and Murphy's not. Someone from the original duo is not there.
Here, I will tell you 1 second.
Because I remember it being weird. Something looked weird. While you're pulling that up, let me get my...
But Paul Verhoeven just was brilliant when it came to predicting the future in very dark ways. So, and that, yeah, you didn't even have like Ronnie Cox. You didn't have, the creepy old dad that played the CEO. And yeah, it's, Peter Weller was not RoboCop. It was Robert Burke.
Okay, so that's... I was like, I felt like something... So I think Murphy is back in... No, doesn't Murphy die in 2?
She's not in... She didn't die in 2, but she's not... No, Officer Ann Lewis. Yep, she's in 3.
I keep saying Murphy. Yes, Lewis is the partner. Murphy is RoboCop. Sorry. Ugh. Brain is getting fried.
Which apparently the actress is been embarrassed of being in that.
Like the franchise as a whole, or that particular movie?
The franchise as a whole.
What?
And yeah, like as two had its problems, but in some ways I liked it more than 1. I mean, mostly because I was about the same age as the kid in the movie that had the machine gun lunchbox, which I thought was the coolest thing. And also being an 11-year-old drug lord. Who doesn't want to be that?
Oh yeah. Nuke? Was that the name of the drug?
Yep.
Oh gosh. RoboCop 1 is going to be in my scenes that don't make any sense to me. I think I'm going to try shooting. And the mutant thing where the guy falls into the basically bad acid and comes out deformed like that. Like, I'm definitely going to put that up and be like, what is this? What is this doing here? I was like, I love a lot in this movie, but explain this one to me. I don't get it.
Like, yeah, and there's just this vat of toxic waste just hanging out for him to drive into.
It's like, why was that there? Why was that more security measures? Like, just so many questions I have now.
I mean, that's one reason why they chose Detroit is because there was just tons of just empty factories for them to hang out in.
Yeah. And it just paints this picture of Detroit. It's just not accurate. Like, there are dilapidated buildings in Detroit, but it's like, I forget who the person running for Elijah Cummings' old seat in Baltimore, she took, or the Republican challenger, she took this video, like this heavily edited video, just on the same street, forced perspective, and keeps circling around the same dilapidated building. And it's like, yeah, because there might be 1 or 2 blocks that look bad, but the entire city, it's like the same thing here in St. Louis. It's like there might be 1 or 2 streets that don't look great because of, stretching back from the housing crisis. Like, but the entire city is not dilapidated. That's a disgusting caricature of a actual issue. So like, I feel like people take the wrong idea from. I think people take the wrong idea from RoboCop. I didn't think I was going to get on this today. I think people take the wrong idea from RoboCop and just extrapolate that to Detroit. And I'm like, y'all, it's a dystopian future. Things could get this way if we don't fix certain aspects. It's like, but that's not where it currently is. Police, on the other hand, that's a whole nother matter, and that would be a whole nother show, Tom. Don't get me on that.
Yes. Well, I was actually going to say, like, they're talking about the new RoboCop project. and that it's Neil Blomkamp.
Oh,
The guy.
District 9.
Yep,
Elysium.
and Chappie.
Chappie.
Don't forget Chappie.
Where they downloaded a guy's consciousness into a PS4 and then uploaded it back. That happened, people. Fucking Sony product placement.
Little did you know that your consciousness is under 50 gigs.
I bet they edited it all in a Sony bio. Yeah.
I'm really hoping that it is what we talked about earlier this year, in that RoboCop follows his, serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law, and then turns on bad cops instead of people.
Yeah, disrupt the institution. Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, Peter Weller is not playing RoboCop.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. We're gonna get Joel Kinnaman back in there? Or?
I don't know. Like, Joel's too busy being like everybody's favorite asshole.
I still contend the remake is not that bad.
It's not. I don't think it is either. Other than it just there's no story to tell. Yeah.
They didn't really have anything to do with it. It's just
Yeah, they're like, oh, what if we did it with better CGI? But yeah, I think that I'm kind of looking forward to and hoping that that's what the storyline for RoboCop is. Whether it's Joel or somebody else, we'll see.
Well, as we start to wind down, we have one final topic, and it's the one that's a little contentious between me and Tom. Well, no, we're both agreeing. We're both in agreement that we're worried about next year. But I think I could probably guess that we're both on the same page about the same movie, though. Because we should have already watched it right now.
Does it have to do with sand?
Yes, because it's rough and coarse, and I don't like it.
It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. Sorry, Hayden. That's low blow. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Hayden.
You were perfectly fine in Jumper.
Yeah. I like him in Jumper.
Yeah.
It shows that he's not terrible. So there must be another reason. Okay, stop it. All right. So speaking of sand, and sand dunes, it gets us to Dune. Danny Villeneuve should have been out already, but okay, I get it. Got to do what you got to do. I wouldn't have wanted to see it on streaming either. That definitely would have been one I want to be like bathed in the sun of Arrakis while I'm like in my seat, just the whole perceiving all of it. It's like, so I get it, but that's probably like I am curious what happens with the MCU as far as like how they move forward past post Endgame, but not in like I'm excited for any particular movie. There's nothing DC coming up that I'm like really. We already had our Nolan movie. I don't care about Fantastic Beasts for multiple reasons.
No Time to Die.
Okay. All right. I'll put that as second. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to have a quick aside that I'm almost forgetting now. Oh, yes, that I wanted to bring up about Wonder Woman 84. In one of the conversations that was, a referendum on women being in superhero films, somebody said, is this possibly the end of, or are we starting to see the decline of superhero movies?
What?
Because of the lukewarm response to Wonder Woman.
Oh my gosh.
Are we seeing the decline? And actually, when I was thinking about it, I'm kind of for it. In that,
based off what metric?
It was talking heads just trying to make conversation, I think, on a radio show. But I'm kind of for it because, in my opinion, Wonder Woman isn't necessarily a superhero film. In the way that we traditionally look at superhero films. Like, I think once Black Widow comes out, having those back to back, it's going to tell two very different stories. While you're getting much, much closer to the. I'm not comfortable here.
Tom, I know it's not possible to slap you through the internet.
Listen. It's not, don't slap the messenger, man.
If you ask me if I'm done with superhero movies, I was done.
Are you?
I was done in 2008 once I had The Dark Knight. I didn't need anything else.
Okay.
If you want to be completely honest. So I've been done for a while. But my eyes rolled and have still haven't come back. I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what you can see on my eyeballs right now. They still have not rotated back to the front. Or they're still moving so fast that it looks like they're in place. Because I don't know. Endgame almost made $3 billion. So there's nothing Wonder Woman could do. If New Mutants can come out and be hot trash.
Well,
and
I think
Phoenix
might
comes out and is hot trash, and just go down the laundry list, and those movies are still making $300 to $400 million. Obviously, New Mutants didn't, but didn't know. Sorry, just no.
No, I don't disagree with you that the metrics aren't there for them to come to this, but I have been kind of wondering, like, after Endgame, what are they going to do? Because they've been working off of one formula to get to this point. So what's next? I mean, can they change? Are they capable of changing the formula? Are they brave enough to try something new? Like, and that's, I think, one of the interesting things about Wonder Woman 84 and original Wonder Woman is that they were something a little bit different than the typical superhero movie.
Yeah. It's almost like if you have different directors, and you don't try to force it, cram everything to the same market research tested formula. Things can grow.
And Stephen, to your point, blaming it on Wonder Woman isn't fair. Yeah, absolutely. But it's pretty typical that it's Wonder Woman that they choose to hound on instead of the New Mutants, which was just so horrible this year. I can't even.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that'll be the thing that gets people back in theaters. Now, it would be helpful if we had something like an Endgame coming on the back end of this. I think Dune's going to do well, but it'd be helpful if you had like a. Even though it'd be controversial, but if we'd already had Force Awakens and Last Jedi hadn't come out yet, that would have been, coming out in this December, or not this December, but 2021. Those kind of things would help, because it's such a, yes, people are going to go watch it, or Cap 4 or Iron Man 4 and stuff like that, which I know we're not getting, but and now Panther also would have been, this. Dang, I did not want to talk MCU. Let's finish the spots.
We can continue on.
So that's why my curiosity on how this phase is going to work is, I am interested in how this phase is going to work. And the thing I would say might lean a little towards what you're saying is I don't care about these current slate right now, especially Black Widow and the Eternals. I just don't. I'm waiting until we get Doctor Strange and the new Spidey. But I just don't care about Black Widow and the Eternals. Now, it might change. Widow might be a really great spy thriller like Winter Soldier, and Eternals might be not necessarily quirky like Guardians, but it might have that same effect of you got us to the other parts of the universe that we just have not. You really introduced this new segment well. Cool. So they could do that. So I always want to. Yeah, you might do that, but just as far as my interest in it, I'm just not. It's just not there. Black Widow honestly should have came out after Iron Man 2. You know what? You should have done Iron Man 2 and be like, "Hey, Black Widow's coming out next year."
Not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so next year, any other films that you're excited about? As you,
no, I think that's
victory.
I mean, anything else, honestly, is probably more 2022. Like I want to know what they do with Deadpool 3. Like, will Disney let the R happen? You know, they keep saying.
What about Maverick?
It is gonna look good. You know, Mission Impossible 7
Yeah.
and Top Gun will probably
And F9.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
F9.
Is that a fighter plane I don't know about? Is that what? What's...
No, Fast and Furious 9.
Oh, they're still making those. Is that
Yeah.
Is that what's going on here?
Yeah. It's kind of like the wing.
Did you just compare the cinematography of Fast and the Furious 9 to Top Gun, Maverick, and Mission Impossible 7? That's disrespectful.
I would say Mission Impossible 7, yes. Maverick, I have no idea what it's going to be.
No,
like
that's disrespectful. That's just you need to go rewatch. Was it Rogue Nation and what was the one after it? Dang it.
Wait, was Rogue Nation where Superman cocks his arms when he gets into a fight?
They put a little self next to it. But hey, actually, no, I didn't mind it. It doesn't make any sense, but I didn't mind it.
No.
If that's what you need to get in he throws a dude through a wall and busts his head through the seat. So
you needed a minute to shake it off. And if that means cocking your arms.
Or I don't know if the movie had the sound effect. The trailer definitely did. If you go watch the trailer, it's definitely like, bah, bah.
Yep.
Actually, Panda Red on TikTok does these Batman conversations. He's just big DC fan, so he'll kind of talk as if he's Batman doing things. Or and there's he loves in the Bat family, so he's got Red Robin and Red Hood together getting ready to fight some I forget. I think it was going to be Bane. I think they're going to fight Bane, and Red Hood does the just the boop, boop. And then Robin's like, yeah, let's get ready. Did you just reload your arms? He's like, what? Hey, Dick, get over here. Look at what he did. So the Nightwing jumps out and says, hey, I saw that. Did you just reload your arms? And then even Bane that they were getting ready to go against, and he's like, yes, he did reload the arms. That's because I guess he was out of ammo. He didn't have any more. His guns were out. So I'll post a link to that video. It's quite funny. That's exactly what we're talking about, folks. Henry Cavill just.
Yep.
Hey, if it gets you in the zone, I'm all for it.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get into a fight, right?
I could be excited about Jurassic World.
You could.
Oh!
But then I would judge you about it as much as you might judge. I'm not
forgot
about Fast and Furious.
I don't know if it's still going to be on the schedule, but I'm sorry, Wachowski sisters. Matrix 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry. My Matrix fanboyism overrides my critic brain when it comes. I'll still try to review it as objectively as I can, but my excitement for it is just, yeah. Sorry, I think I wasn't thinking about it because I do think it's going to get pushed because of Dune and other stuff Warner Brothers wants to try to get done during the summer, unless they do make Matrix 4 a summer blockbuster. But so again, I would be surprised if everything that's got. I would be surprised if it comes out next year. But if it does, that will definitely rise.
Yeah.
Dune's still first because they're just childhood kid. That's like I need a better version of that. But Matrix will be right number 2.
If I'm honest, I think the story of Dune is still a bit more compelling than Matrix. And I don't know what story they're going to tell with Matrix 4. It's.
I mean,
the bad guy's gone.
Have you ever played Matrix Online?
No.
I don't think they're going to take any stories from that, but the premise that the Matrix still exists. There's people that have gotten out of it and haven't, and that the machines and the humans are having to learn how to like, what does the future look like now that we have brokered this peace. Was very interested in that game, and so again, I don't think they're going to go down those stories necessarily that was in that MMO, but I do think I would not be surprised if that's one of the central thrusts of it, because it kind of goes back to like if you watch the Animatrix, because that's the entire reason they got into the point. Like, I know the battery thing is dumb; they had a better reason for whatever, but the whole reason we were even in the Matrix in the first place is because human and machine relationship dynamics just like became crap. And Animatrix, the whole I think it's called the Second Renaissance, is really good. If it's on digital, go check it out. It might be on HBO Max since it's a Warner Brothers property. Just a really good collection of little short stories. But the Second Renaissance tells you how all that started, and we got basically to the point of where we are in the Matrix. Doesn't do the whole thing, but kind of gets you to the point. It's just like, yeah, we thought they were going to be aggressive toward us, and we started doing first strikes and wouldn't recognize the machine's autonomy and stuff like. So I feel like this movie could possibly be the back end of that, of like, machines have a vivid history of what has happened to them. Like, this current set of humanity doesn't have that set of facts from the past. They've only got the recent trauma and things that they've gone through as well. So that's going to be very interesting. I think that'd be very fascinating. I would love to see that. I don't know if it's going to be that, but I would love to see that.
Yeah, I hope it is something like that, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
You're not going to hold your breath?
Nope. Not even during these COVID times.
Get your lungs up, Tom. How does one do that? All right, we're off the rails. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and wrap. Thank you all for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. We will be back Wednesday with Birds of Prey. Yes, we're gonna do Birds of Prey.
Bob.
That'll get us caught up on the DC movies for now. Gosh, we won't have another one until Suicide Squad comes out, and I think that one's still come out in the summer. Oh, well, it's been a good little lazy afternoon. Well, we all got to be lazy. We had to work. We've been working for this money. All right. Cool. Throughout the month of January, you're going to see on the Nerd Union channel different plugs for our Patreon channel. Our Patreon tiers. And the first thing you'll get with the $5 tier is our set of video essays. So it's not just movie essays. There's going to be some other things on nerd culture, TV, and gaming and things like that we're going to dive into. We've had friends dropping me suggestions. Someone wants us to review game music and actually talk about what makes good game music and things like that. I've got a series alluded to it earlier that I'm talking about scenes that bug me. This could be something maybe you have thought is weird, of like, why is that in this? Why is this here right in this moment? It's like, it doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of the. That's going to be that's going to be at least part of the concept. There can be some other things we'll talk about it. So that's what you'll get as our Patreon users. Those things will eventually come out on YouTube, but if you're a Patreon, you get access to that first. So you get 30 days of access to that before we ever put it up on YouTube. And our other Nerd Union writers are working on some really cool video series as well. So when we'll start teasing more of that out here soon in the next couple of weeks. Or again, COVID isn't also impacting us and how we can record some of our. I know Tom's been working on a series as well. Is that it is making it difficult. We had some really cool stuff we were going to do, and it slowed down what we were going to be able to shoot. So we are working on trying to get some of those things out, but definitely whoever's on our Patreon list first, you're going to get that, and that'll be our way of saying thank you for supporting us. But then also like, hey, that's your perk for getting in. You get to see it first. You can have comments and chat with us first about it on the Discord and stuff before anyone ever gets to see it on YouTube. Cool. Anything else, Tom?
No, this has been great.
Good. All right, I'm Commander Shipp. That's Tom DeGroh. We will see you all next week. Later.
Be right back.